You are listening to Single Smart Female. This is Jen, explaining the possibilities in your love life and examining your mantourage dating experiences. I am here to help you do life and love on your terms by tipping the scales of love permanently in your favor. So don't forget to text this episode to all of your single smart girlfriends, and let's get started. Hey there, my single smart lover girl. It's your romantic fairy godmama, coming all the way to you today and those gorgeous ears of yours with an important romantic fairy godmama quickie. Now, today's quickie is, are your feelings really that important? And I'm going to say for some of you, this might be a trigger episode because the truth is that yes and no, your feelings are not that important. So let's dive into this a bit today because I think a lot of us in society, especially with the way that the divisiveness actually that's going on, we're constantly allowing ourselves to be triggered. And I do say allowing because that is true. Like our feelings, I want to make it very clear from the beginning. Our feelings are our responsibility. Yeah, there are going to be people who do really shitty things in our life, but ultimately our feelings, and I'm not telling you you have to feel perfect all the time, but they're our responsibility and they're, part of our makeup and what we need to tend to. So we're constructing a society right now where everybody's feelings are so important, but then ultimately there's no space to actually to actually speak anymore. We've become so overly sensitive to everything that it's really challenging to even have a genuine thought without having to construct that thought in your head, making sure you don't offend anyone at the same time. And by the way, like when I'm not dating anymore, but if I was dating right now, one of the first things I would avoid are men who are overly sensitive and who have to point out and basically micromanage your language around everything. That is really exhausting. It's exhausting in friendship. It's exhausting on so many levels. It's emotionally, mentally, and at times physically exhausting because you have to repeat the same thing over and over again. And instead of just considering for a minute when somebody says something, what their intention is behind it. And that's the thing is that we automatically assume the worst with intention when sometimes it's just the way somebody says something. The intention is right on. Okay. It just happens to be the way they say it. So I'm going to tell all of you ladies right now, especially when dating, you need to learn how to have a good sense of humor and you need to learn how to not be offended all the time. Because if you don't have those two things, your dating experiences are going to be shit repetitively. And that's just the bottom line. You can choose to flourish in that. It's not really flourishing, but choose to swim in that level of sensitivity, but it's going to be exhausting. And you're going to find very little of what you really want. And if you do find something, it'll be very, very temporary. It's not a place to be that is really worthy of your brilliance. And it's not worthy of your pending adored woman status. Life is about having and taking as much out of it in a good way as you can and experiencing and having fun and love and laughter. And no, it's not exclusively that. And in fact, I think a lot of the darker pieces of it or the grayer pieces actually heighten those other experiences. But on the same page, we have to be able to have those pieces, and they can't just be alcohol induced. They can't just be substance induced. They need to be genuinely coming from you to be real, true, lifelong, pieces of you that you carry with you for a lifetime and really contribute to your happiness. Now, again, the original question is, are your feelings really that important? And I'm also going to talk about the fact that feelings are very deceptive, okay? Feelings are based on all kinds of perception. And if your perception is off about whether it's a specific incident, a specific person, or whatever, then your feelings are going to be based on that, even if it's completely inaccurate. Okay. And we definitely tell ourselves that we know, I went back to this, is people's intentions and things like that. But, perception is a choice that we make. We decide that perception has to be this way or that way. And yeah, in some instances, yes, I can totally concede that that is the case. But for the most part, it's how we choose to perceive things. And again, the old adage of, glass half empty and glass half full. The life tends to be so much better and you're going to attract so many more wonderful things if you're a glass half full woman who also understands how to create her own fun in her life and knows how to interact with men differently. I will tell you, the perception of most women about men from most women, they've got so much shit completely wrong. So much of it just completely wrong that's detrimental to their love experiences, their dating experiences. And so they go from dating experience to dating experience feeling like adding to that being jaded part because they're not willing to rework that whole perception piece and do things differently. So they're misinterpreting men a lot. And again, I'm not saying in every instance, ladies. So understand that I do, again, concede that there are certain things that it's very challenging to read any other way. But I will tell you that when you rework all those things, especially when you start man-tourage dating and understanding man-tourage dating is not just dating more than one man. It's a whole process, a whole system. Now, the base definition would be dating more than one man at a time until you meet your forever man, but it's got to be inclusive of pieces that give you, and this is actually really important. It gives you a place for your feelings, but it doesn't give you a place to just punish people with your feelings. And that's where we're really fucking up as women is, yes, our feelings are important. Sometimes they're valid, sometimes they're not. So sometimes when they're not valid, they're not as important. But we have to learn how to process things and be responsible for our feelings ourselves and not just walk around in our conversations or in our actions and, use everybody else as an emotional punching bag, okay? They're not our emotional punching bag. And when you learn to do that, then all of a sudden this whole world opens up for you and real magic can happen between the connection of two human beings because you're not emotionally responsible for each other. It is exhausting to be emotionally responsible. It's not only exhausting, it's not even doable to be emotionally responsible for everybody else in your world. Okay, we have to grow the fuck up and understand, we're going to have emotions. We definitely should process them, and which is what we do in Secret Society. We have tools to do that, and we make ourselves responsible for them. And then outside of those feelings, when somebody has wronged us and we need to say something, we say something, okay? And otherwise, we just do things differently. And then we're not feeling at the mercy of everybody else in our world, and we're not feeling overly responsible because we have really emotionally grown up and recognized what our part is and all that. And this is a place of freedom like most women do not know right now. It's a huge place of just relaxing and a deep breath where you're not exhausted all the time for being responsible for everybody else, but actually taking care of your own emotional home territory. And again, like I said, tie that back. When you're willing to do that, that's where real connection between people happens. And I'm not talking about just the, actual connection. I'm talking about magical connection, where the possibilities for good and fun and magic are actually endless. Hey, Lover Girl. Thanks for joining me today and texting this episode to all of your single smart girlfriends. If you have a question that you'd like to submit for on-air consideration or want to learn more about working with me, then meet me over at singlesmartfemale.com. See you there.